kid, right? So I grew up here, not in San Diego, but just like 20 minutes outside LA. But what do you not like about San Diego? Let's do like your top 3 things that just you really hate.
All right, living in San Diego, what's it like? 2022, man. There's a lot going on since COVID happened.
There is.
Why don't we get into the good? There's always good, so we'll leave the bad for last. But let's talk about like what's so great about living here. The weather, freaking awesome. You can't knock it.
Yeah, no, I think at all of Southern California, right? Weather is incredible. I personally think I really love San Diego.
Yeah.
Even with all, the bad, the ugly, I think the good for me, I like it here. I really do. I love the convenience. I love that if you're looking to move, you can buy a place that feels like you're out in the country. You're still close to the beach. I can go snowboarding. I can go dirt bike riding. I can surf. As far as an outdoor lifestyle goes, you really can have a really awesome outdoor experience in San Diego. You also get the city life. If you're a foodie, the amount of food that
the Mexican food that I've had here compared to any other place I've lived is insane.
Yeah,
insane. It's like getting a pizza in New York where I grew up, but like here it's like, dude, you can go anywhere and get a solid burrito and tacos
everywhere.
Compared to the rest of the country, like it's just awesome.
Yeah,
and they're 24/7. I mean, come on, like,
all the time, and like literally every time you go,
burritos
everywhere.
No, I agree. I hated on California a lot. Especially when I first got stationed here, because I grew up in the country,
mm-hmm.
And I think when you first get here, you don't always realize how much country there is to San Diego.
Yeah,
like you said, you can go all the way to Alpine if you really wanted to. Like I'm talking with a buddy right now, and he's like, "Hey, I think I want to get a couple acres in Alpine." And I'm like, yeah, hopefully in a couple of weeks we'll have that conversation. But that, like, you can have that here. Like, if you're willing to drive that distance and you don't care about being that close,
right?
Then it's a full option, man. Because you can still like spend a night close to the beach if you really wanted to, and still have that distance.
There is, and I think people sometimes, anytime they hear Southern California, they think super heavy traffic, big city, LA, downtown San Diego. Right, that's kind of more of the vibe, and that's not. I think that's what's really unique about San Diego is you can choose your vibe from wherever you are, right? And like we could talk about specific pockets, whether it's North Park, right?
Mm-hmm.
Little hipster. If anybody's watching, you live in North Park. Sorry, but true.
It is true.
It's a little hipster. If you love the outgoing beach lifestyle, I lived in Pacific Beach for a long time, and I loved it there.
Pacific Beach is everyone. I've never heard bad complaints.
Yeah, other than it can be a bit noisy, right? Like there is really, you can choose what pocket is going to fit your lifestyle the absolute best.
Or if you just like want to have like top family suburb, San Marcos, they have like some of the best public schools in the county.
Right.
So it's it's true. And I knocked it until I started to really travel, and I think it's really in the last couple years I've really started to appreciate what it does have to offer.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people ride on like, California's terrible. I've lived all the way in Fresno in the desert.
Mm-hmm.
An hour north of Fresno, so I was really in the desert.
Really, yeah.
I was in the Dust Bowl. I've been to LA and then here, and Northern California is great, but it's way too out in the boons in a lot of places. Once you get away from Sacramento and the city,
it is.
Down here, you're right. Like, there's a hiking trail every like couple miles.
Yeah.
There's so many.
That's true.
There's so many. And I always and this is a lot for kids too. Like even in Fallbrook, they have like a little private nature preserve that's completely fenced in. You can just take your kids there, and you're like, be free. I'm just gonna walk behind you, and just like it's awesome.
It is, and I think people, especially people that are not in California, right?
Mm-hmm.
But let's kind of address that for a minute. People that are not in California are always looking at California like, I don't want to move there. The politics, the this, the that, the gas prices, the traffic. It's like, look, you know what? In every state, you'll find things that you like and you don't like. It really is about what's going to fit you, right? Like, I just about every state I've been to in the country, like, I love it. My biggest complaint and with the other states is honestly like the weather. If we're in Mississippi, if we're in Missouri, if you know,
well, okay, those are not two good cities in my opinion.
They're not great, right? But
I think they got a lot of issues.
They do. Yeah. However, you go there and you run into people that are absolutely diehard. They love it there. They could never imagine themselves or anybody else living anywhere else. They think it's crazy. So, you know, I definitely think there's something to be said about what kind of lifestyle you're trying to live.
I agree. And honestly, like, even like, man, so everyone freaks out about the gas prices, especially right now with like, you know, like Costco's still like $5.70 and stuff like that, $5.40-ish, depending on which one you go to. I can tolerate that. It's what it is. I'll be honest, when I came here making 19 grand a year as an E3 in the military, like I was just like, I had a car and it was like $5.50 a gallon. They had like that high gas prices at the time back in 2014.
Yeah.
I didn't go anywhere. And if people ask me to go places, like gas money.
Yeah. No, there's...
Now being older and more established, I'm kind of like, I can honestly get over it. I'll find a way to make the money. Because it's, I don't know, it's, man, it's a lot of take on it. I mean, it is annoying, but at the same time, like, if you want to save money on groceries, like, there's a lot of freaking deals here.
Oh, yeah.
For you to find. Like, the meat might not be as cheap as it is, like, in the South or Texas, where they have ranches there, but, like, you can cut costs in a lot of areas.
There is, and I mean, you could do that with anywhere. I mean, in our gas prices, I've always hated gas prices in general, but, I mean, you're going to get that everywhere.
Yep.
So we've talked about like a lot of the good stuff, right? The pockets, the hiking, how you could literally pretty much do anything outdoors you want.
Or go to Mexico. We didn't get that also.
Oh yeah,
right there, TJ.
Yeah, we
can go over there.
Mexico,
like Baja.
Right
like I have buddies that go down to Baja, and like you can get like for like $100 a night, you get a cabin, you go fishing.
Oh yeah, beaches right on they got that new winery that opened up. That's within driving distance.
Yep.
So I mean, there really is a lot of stuff that's really attractive. But I'm from California originally, not from San Diego. But so you're from New York originally?
From an hour east of Buffalo. So I have more cows than people, and it's a prison town.
Okay,
that's where I grew up. Man.
Let's talk about. I obviously I'm a California kid, right? So I grew up here, not in San Diego, but just like 20 minutes outside LA. But what do you not like about San Diego? Let's do like your top 3 things that just you really hate.
It's crowded. It's not a San Diego thing. It's a city thing. So I am a type of person where like I would love to be like you live in Fallbrook or stuff like that, but to avoid the crowds and things like that. So you can definitely avoid crowds in San Diego.
Oh yeah.
But that also plays into the traffic, which blows.
It does.
I learned that there's ways to live in certain areas to avoid that. So it's a negative, but it's not a San Diego thing. It's just a city thing. I grew up in the country. Yeah. Like I had 2 stoplights in my town. Right. Some people are like, I didn't even have one. I get it. We all fight over how many people have least stoplights in their town. Yeah. But it's country life, right? But then that leads me to the next thing is like I would love to live in the country, but they all have some kind of acreage, and I gotta spend over $700K or for it to be like a decent house, right? Like, having 3 kids and stuff like that. Like, I'm not looking for a 2-bed, 1-bath little shack that has an acre of property. Like I want to have a little bit more and not be all the way in Alpine, right? And that's the one thing that I hate is I would love to be avoiding crowds. But I can't because I have to have a higher budget than what we have in order to be able to get into a decent home. And COVID's only, exploded that. So like I'm not against it. Like if I could afford it, like I'd pay it. It'd be great, But that's my issue for anyone who's like probably under 40. They're not fully established, or it's just the barrier to entry is so much higher in California. It's literally like there are 2 classes: you're rich or you're poor, and that brings me to a whole other conversation about getting out there working and all that stuff. So don't think negative about it, but it is like it takes a higher barrier to get into stuff. Like, it's the barrier, like let's say in Florida or like Mississippi where you mentioned, like, right. Yeah. Like I've had friends, even where I grew up in New York, like they've owned homes since 21. Yeah. Because, they can get a house for $80K out there.
Yeah. Whole nother ball game for sure. Well, and I also do know, I know people that are younger, right? Most of them are military, but they have the ability to get into, let's say like lower priced condos. And by lower priced, I mean, let's say between 3 and 425,000.
And I think we're going to exclude officers in this one because I've had officers. This is enlisted.
This is an enlisting. So if you're an 0102, you can afford a single family home.
Yeah, you'll be able to get a single family.
If you're managing your finances correctly, which whole nother long talk about.
Yeah.
So I think that there is some good and there's a lot of opportunity if you are, let's say under 30, right? Or let's even say 33. That's the first time age of the average home buyer across America is 33.
Yep.
So if you're right in that age, you have to be willing to look at the opportunity in such a desirable location where they have so many amenities that are close by, with the ability for people that are expanding, meaning, if you have a couple, no kids yet, and they buy a little condo near or on the beach, and then as their family grows, that opportunity based on appreciation that condo is gained really allows them to move into a different suburb to where, they're still in their budget, same comfortable range. So I think that's some good. One of the things I personally hate about San Diego is just the traffic at specific times of day.
Terrible. And how long has it been? And they don't have any expansion or changing. And
I think that's more of what it is. And they are expanding the 5, but how many years has that been going on?
No, it's like a 2080 plan. It's crazy.
Yeah,
it's absolutely crazy. I will go back to the barrier of entry thing, but I am a firm believer that because we do get people get reach outs, they're renting, right? Mm-hmm. Fully believe that if you're well, I have to purchase a single family home. Well, you can't afford it. Well, then maybe you should look elsewhere and save up your money and make that goal. You know what I mean? Because it just is how it is. The market dictates how much the homes cost, and that's what they feel it should cost. So I do say that with not a woe is me, but make it work.
Yeah, well, I mean, barrier of entry is, and that's going to be any time. If you're planning a large move. Yep. There's always going to be that, that initial upfront cost, barrier of entry, however we want to phrase it. There's always going to be that cost. And I think a lot of times people, they really do forget about that upfront of, whether it's closing costs or, how much their down payment's going to cost or how much property taxes are. Those things don't get considered quite enough.
No, they don't. But yeah, overall, I think, San Diego's still a great place to live.
Yeah.
It's really just that barrier of entry. I really don't, because even the traffic and the crowds, I am a firm believer that I will set my life up to not have to worry about that. Right. and avoid certain times.
And honestly, I drive in traffic pretty frequently and it's my own fault. But to be honest, I don't really mind it. And the reason I don't mind it is because I don't look at it as I'm sitting in traffic, it's a waste of time. I look at it like an opportunity. And I'm on book number 5 and I hate reading, but I love to listen and absorb information. Yeah. So, I'm on book 5.
I do the same thing, but
it's
this is good. We're opposites because I disagree. I hate it.
Yeah. And see, and it doesn't bother me because I have the opportunity to where, I can really absorb the information and it's not that bad for me. And it's kind of like my own time. It's almost peaceful. To an extent. Now, if I'm in a hurry and I need to get somewhere, we might be having a different conversation.
For sure. But no, it's a good point. I do the same thing when I'm in traffic. It's audiobooks, podcasts. I make the most of my time, or phone calls, not holding the phone.
Yeah.
Heathens.
Well, you brought this up.
I got Bluetooth.
Yeah. So you brought this up earlier. What, and you're an East Coast guy.
Yep.
I'm a West Coast guy. What do you think, and this is a controversial topic, but what do you think about the political climate in San Diego?
I hate it, to be fully forefront. Man, every state has its good and bad. Mm-hmm. I love my guns. Mm-hmm. I love having freedom. I love not being taxed for every little thing that I do. Mm-hmm. And, that's really the biggest complaints I have here.
Right.
San Diego is one of my more favorite places to live because everyone here is very, hey man, just do your own thing for the most part, obviously. Right. But we do live in California, and that's something, but some people love that when they come here. And, follow the laws, that's great, but it doesn't mean it makes me unhappy with how it is. Because I grew up in the country. It's part of life.
It is.
And hunting and fishing is a big part of what I grew up. We used to stock our freezer during the winter with deer meat and stuff like that when we hunted, and we wouldn't go to the store for beef and stuff like that during that time. And that was our way of saving money and having that in the freezer. Well, if you're coming to San Diego, like that just doesn't, that's not really, don't do that. Like, there's some public land north of here to go hunting, but like that's what, one area for like all of LA and San Diego. Like it's just not worth your time. No. So that is one thing I don't like. Now fishing's great. You can go to the pier. Like you can talk about Baja, Mexico.
Oh, a ton of charter trips.
Yeah, charter trips. Ton of different lakes around San Diego, like Dixon Lakes, a private lake in Escondido you can go fish at. Like, there's definitely opportunity for you to fish. So that's cool. But yeah, the hunting piece, it's something I do miss, and California makes it very hard.
So you did bring up one thing that I thought was kind of interesting, and I think maybe a misconception, and I get this all the time too, when, you know, sometimes people just flat out ask, and it's funny because you don't ever hear anybody talk about this. And to be honest, like it's a topic I avoid pretty heavily, especially if I'm meeting somebody new. Like I don't ever want to talk about this, but the reality is most people are pretty. You're always gonna have your people that are always one side. Right?
Yeah, one side or the other.
But most people don't really care, man.
No.
And that's just a reality. You run into some of the people that just, you know, they want to give you their opinion about everything. But for the most part, everybody is pretty even keeled. I think that's kind of unique to some other states or counties.
Yeah,
that
I avoid the rest of California, but I agree with San Diego. Living and seeing all other cities and traveling up to Sacramento and San Jose, and they're crazy up there. But like San Diego, like you're right, that is the vibe. It's always just like, hey, like I'm gonna do me, you do you, and like that's one thing I will always appreciate about San Diego is it's never made sense compared to the rest of the state. Yeah, it's its own beast, and I love it.
Agreed.
I absolutely love it. It's a mix of cultures. It's awesome.
Yeah.
And I think now it's actually gotten a lot more recognition with people moving here in the last couple of years. Like everyone's like, oh, everyone's leaving California. San Diego's getting a lot of people moving here.
It is. I mean, how many Silicon Valley people are? I mean,
especially up in Southern Riverside and Temecula.
Yeah, crazy. It's like Silicon Valley is like emptying out, and you know, and it's funny because, you know, they come down here and they're like, oh, this house is only $2 million.
I
know. Okay, yeah.
Like, yeah, all right. Like, I guess. Yeah. Like, you know, especially with rates changing now, I'm like, hey, man, like, you know, we had clients that dipped out that were moving down there, and I'm like, hey, like, you know, rates are, you know, it's softening at those higher price points. Like, it is. You know, this might be your chance. Right. Like, come on down. But yeah, so through all the cons, like San Diego it is a great place to live.
I agree.
And while I have like it's why it's so good that we sat together and do this, because you grew up here in California. I'm not.
Right.
But we do agree on a lot of things. Like I agree, it's a great place to live. You know, it's not for everyone. So if it's not for you, then don't stay here. But we've even had people that I reach out and they talk about, you know, getting vacations over here. That's still a possibility. They definitely crack down on legislation a lot.
They have.
But it's still not like, doesn't mean you have to rent it out. Like some people do have the budget just to own that home, and they come here during the winter and
second
stuff like
home.
That. Yeah, it's still a thing. So, you know, I hope you all got value from this. I hope you got a good insight of what it's like living here in San Diego. You know, it's good and bad, but overall, it's really is it for you? Figure it out, you know? And this is just one video that we have to stepping you closer to figuring out.
Yeah, and to be perfectly transparent, like it's important that you have somebody who's going to give you the honest opinion, you know. And obviously, while hopefully it doesn't come off like we're super biased because we're here in San Diego.
Yep.
But I mean, it is an honest opinion. You know, there's things we love and there's things we hate, and I think everybody has that wherever they are. But it's just important to link up with somebody who is going to give you that opinion so you can make your own decision.
Absolutely. And if you are making the move out here, like I said, what we love more than anything is helping you make that move out here. So this number popping up below is how you can get a hold of us. Call, text, email, whatever you have to do. We have your back when moving to San Diego, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video.
Right on. See you guys.
Let's do it.